Have you ever wondered what you get extra for your money if you were to take your car to a main dealer to be serviced? Now, around 10 years ago, I used to be a technician for Audi and Volkswagen, and although this is a Skoda, it's pretty much the same as an A3, a Golf, etc. So I'm going to talk you through exactly what I used to do 10 years ago at a main dealer when we used to service cars. And we're going to see at the end of this video if I do anything different that really warrants spending that extra money to go to a main dealer, or are you just paying for the stamp? And also at the end of this video, guys, I'm giving away my 2010 Skoda Octavia VRS completely for free on Compete for Cars. So watch to the end and you'll find out how you can win this car for free. And yes, although this is a Skoda Octavia VRS, it is 99% the same as a Golf, an A3 of this era. It has the same 2-litre common rail engine that we are going to be doing a cam belt on, and also we're going to be doing a full service including all the filters, and we're going to take it down to be MOT'd too. Now, I've actually had this car for around about 4 years now, and it is one of the first cars I bought on the channel as a project car, and I used it for around about 2.5 years, and it had been such a good car. It honestly, it's done nearly 200,000 miles, but it drives like it's done 40. It's been such a good car, and it's kind of the reason I've never sold it, because it's so cheap to run. It's a great daily, and I just don't want it sat here doing nothing anymore. So I want it to go to one of you guys to use as it is intended to be. So we're going to get it fully recommissioned in this video. And even the interior, look, it's been sat for 18 months, and the interior has got less mold on it than the Porsche GT4 that I've got around the corner, if I'm honest. However, let's jump in. There is one downside. I'm pretty sure the battery definitely needs charging, because no, she should start now. Beautiful. Now, this is a disclaimer. This video is my experience only as a technician 10 years ago. I may have forgotten some things, and not all dealers will be the same. So please don't treat this video as fact. So first up, we've got a light check and the horn. Horn works, you heard that. Looks like we have a headlight bulb out here. Indicators, DRL's okay. Indicators in both wing mirrors, all good. Number plate lights, both working. Side light, yep, side light. Indicators working, and they are not showing any white, so that is all good. All good there, so we just need to now check the rear fog, brake lights, and full beam. Use the wall for the brake lights, yep. I can see the top one working, and I can see both outers working good. However, my first fault I found is the fog light switch doesn't come out, and it's really stiff, so we're gonna have to note that down on the old inspection sheet and just check both indicators work independently. Yeah, all good. And there we go. To start us off, we have a near side headlight out, US meaning unserviceable, and the headlight switch is stiff/unserviceable. And both full beams working. Phase 1 complete. Now today on the Octavia, we're going to be doing a full service and a cam belt as well. Now, as a technician, I used to love these types of jobs, because doing cam belts all day, every day, I could do one on one of these in about 40 minutes. And the book time is around about 3 to 4 hours. So you'd gain so much time, which goes against your bonus, etc. like that. And intertwine it with a service as well, so you could be draining the oil whilst you're starting on the cam belt. You can all just tie it into one, and you can make so much time up as a technician. They were great. But first of all, we're going to take it all the way up in the air to check all the underside of the vehicle to complete our VHC, which stands for Vehicle Health Check. It's something that we have to do first before we start doing any work on the car, because if there are any things that need doing, we have to write them down on the computer, send them through to the service advisor, and the service advisor would try and get authorization for us to continue and complete the additional work whilst the kind of car's in the workshop, if that makes sense. So we're going to continue, get it up in the air, and finish off the VHC. So now we're at the midpoint of the car, and here is where I check brakes, suspension, like steering, see if there's any play in any ball joints. So I'm basically just going to see if there's any play in the steering rack, which there isn't, any in the ball joint, top and bottom, just give it a wobble, and also wheel bearing, nothing, all good. Spin the wheel, any grinding, any wheel bearing noise, all absolutely sounds fine. And then we'll just check the coil spring, make sure it's not broken or snapped. No, that's all looking good. And then just a visual inspection, making sure there's nothing hanging off. And yeah, we're all looking good so far. Tyres, we'll look at them properly underneath, but a bit of a chunk out of this one. These are all going to get replaced with 4 brand new tyres anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. And then just repeat the process on every other corner. and see what your findings are. The tyre isn't round. For where it's sat with a flat tyre for so long, the tyre is literally out of shape. I can see it. I don't think it's a buckle, but I will check that when we're underneath. But brake pads are all looking good, disc are fine. Bump stop, very common. Bump stop's deteriorated and basically it's just dropped the strut cover down. Again, we always advise these. Most people never actually had them replaced because it's probably going to be an advisory on the MOT, but it's not leaking, so all looking good here. And then again, bump stop on this corner as well is also deteriorated. And also, wheel bearing sounds fine, there's no play, discs look good. Brake pads okay, but there is a bit of binding on this wheel, so I'm probably going to advise that this brake caliper gets stripped and cleaned because it's a bit bindy. So looking on the underside now, first thing to note, the under tray is missing, which I'm fully aware of. I have just ordered a new one, but looking here, looking at CV boots, they all looking okay, inner and outer. Signs of a previous oil leak, however it isn't leaking now. That's probably where I've cleaned it off previously. Again, CV boots, not split or anything, so that is looking good. Any other signs of any drop links? They look okay. Test there. A little bit loose here, that's because the under tray is missing, so once we have that, that'll be rectified. Things like ball joints are going to be a little bit harder for me to check. I can only really put just a pry bar in and give it a little wiggle. But these bushes here were quite common. They don't look too bad. I probably wouldn't even advise them. And that one has been replaced, which looks absolutely fine. Steering arm, ball joints, all looking good as well. Can't see any splits in those. That's looking okay. Yeah, just a bit grimy, but nothing else really to add at the front there, so it's all looking okay. And then moving down the back, a little bit rusty as you'd expect, 15 years old. And then I just put my hands on here to see if I can feel a cracked or broken coil spring. All looking okay. Same again here, see if I can feel a break in the spring. No, all looking good. Dampers not leaking, just the bump stops that have dropped down, exposing the shock. Rusty, but all looking nice and clean. Exhaust secure. Yeah, it's all looking pretty good here. Last thing I'm going to now check is the wheels. And then just spin the wheels. And basically I'm just looking at the inside edge of the wheel here to see if there's any big buckles, which it looks good. And then you can actually see, although the wheel's not buckled, the tyre is out of shape quite badly, and that is because it's probably sat flat for 18 months, but I'm putting, again, 4 new tyres on, so it doesn't matter. So, but normally though, I just check the outer wheel, see if there's any buckles in the outer wheel as well. No, all looking good. I'm just going to repeat that for the other 3 corners, and I'll see if there's any difference. God, look at the size of that boot. Let me just check our spare wheel as well. Ooh, there's a saw, but no spare wheel. That's fine. So I have my list of advisories here, and I'm now going to send those all through to the service advisor, and they're going to contact the customer to see if any of that work needs doing. However, I've heard this customer is a bit of a... And then we move on to the engine bay. There's nothing really to note in here, except that the engine cover is missing, so I've noted that down. So that's the preliminary checks done. I've also noted that it hasn't had a brake fluid change for more than 2 years, so I've required that to be put through to be authorised too. Here are all our new components: belt, tensioners, roller bearings. It's probably going to take me a damn sight more than 40 minutes to do it because I haven't done one for so long, but I'm going to put it on a time lapse and kind of talk you through exactly what I'm doing. So now we're going to continue on to the bits that it's been booked in for, and the cam belt is the hardest thing to do, so I'd probably start with that first. And the cam belt we're going to be replacing is under this cover here, and then we're going to be replacing the tensioner, the cam belt, and the roller bearings too. And to gain access to that, we're going to have to remove the coolant bottle, the fuel filter reservoir, the washer bottle reservoir, and also the engine mount. We're going to have to jack the engine up to gain access to the side of the engine to change it all. So whilst we're at the top of the engine, we may as well start there by removing the washer bottle, coolant bottle, anything in the way of the cam belt and take the cam belt cover off too. That exposes that, and then we can put the car in the air, take the wheel off, wheel arch liner at the bottom off, take our crank pulley off as well, auxiliary belt, take our covers off for our cam belt timing chain. Then we can jack the engine up using a block of wood, which means we can remove our engine mount and the mount from the engine, and then that fully reveals the cam belt and the tensioner. And then we need 3 locking pins as well to hold the crank in place, the camshaft in place, and the diesel injection pump in place. And then we can remove our belt and then just refit everything in the reverse order, making sure you get it bang on with your engine timing. So I've now got my locking tool in my diesel injection system there, you can see, and also the locking pin in the camshaft here, and also the locking pin now in the crank as well. So all my 3 points are all now locked. So the next thing you want to do is now crack off the 3 bolts for the camshaft sprocket so it's floating, and do the same for the diesel injection pump. This will make doing the cam belt so much easier. Now, the trick that I used to do was just put it full lock to the right and then back a little bit, because when you adjust it up, this will give you the right amount of free play, because it will always pull slightly when you tension it, and then you can do the bolts up. And basically what you don't want is the bolts at the stop, because then it's not floating then, and also it means you could be stretching the timing a little bit. So you want to pull it fully over to this side, and when the tension's up, it will just pull it back to the middle, and then you know it's not tight, and then you can do the bolts up. So keep them over this side. So it's quite hard to show, but you want to get your tensioner just sat on the spline here. Install your 2 new roller bearings here. The third one we're going to install at the end, just because it will be easier. And then we want to get our new belt, feed it down over the crank, pulling it as tight as you can, make sure there's no slack in it. I would normally change the water pump too, but I didn't have one with me, and it looked actually fairly new and it wasn't leaking at all, so I didn't change it. Or as little slack as possible, like so. And then we need to locate our, make sure our tension is located correctly. There's a little tab underneath. Just need to, can't see it from here. Yep, that's in. So that'll push all the way home. And just make sure our belt is fully fitted on the sprockets. Like so. And at the bottom. And then when we tension this, it's going to pull this sprocket back. So with our belt on, we can now fit our last little roller bearing at the top here, which should be nice and easy to do. There we go. I think that's 30 newton meters, I will check that. So that's all now, our tensioners, bearings, everything all good now. And now we're at a case where we can tension the engine up. And to do that, we need a 6mm Allen key. And I don't know if you're able to see it, let me just zoom in. But the way to do it is, we just now need to do this up. And there'll be a little notch on the tensioner, and we just see the little window here. We just need to keep going until that notch is in the middle of the window, like so. 9 times out of 10 it will hold as well. And then we'll just do the bolt up. I believe that's 25 newton meters, but again, you'd need to just double check. I'm just going to nip it up at the minute just so it holds it, like so. And then you'll just want to just check that your sprocket isn't touching and the bolts are nice and free, which they are. Cool. And now we can do all 6 of our sprocket bolts up for the camshaft and the diesel injection pump. And then once you've done that, we can remove the pins, turn the engine over twice, just to double check everything lines back up and the pins go back in where they should, and then it's done. Right, so that's all the engine now back together. So just before I do the oil change, let's just give it a quick start, make sure it's all good, get a little bit of oil circulating as well. Now we're going to move on to dropping the oil. In my heyday, I would have done all the oil change at Cambo. I'd have just coincided and done them all simultaneously, but I am no longer in my heyday, so I'll do things a little bit slower. And also, filming for camera makes it a little bit harder as well. Move that, undo that pipe. So we'll start by changing the oil filter before the oil, because when we take the oil filter off, there'll be some oil trapped in the housing, and that can now run into the sump, and then when we drain the oil, it can then drain out instead of staying there. New O-ring on the filter housing. New filter. Clip it in. Back in she goes. And then from memory, it's about 4.3 litres of oil. And while I was here, I've just checked the coolant level as well. Coolant level is all good. So good news, the service advisor has upsold all the work that we advised, and now we can crack on with it, including this rear brake, because it is pretty bloody stiff. Or have I got to wrap stuff on? No, it's really stiff. Because this headlight switch is so stiff and it doesn't pull out, that's where our rear fog light is, which means that's going to fail MOT. So we need to sort this out, and I'm going to apply a bit of heat to the switch. Hopefully that's going to free it up a little bit. Well, I'm going to have to try a little bit of WD, because I don't know what else to suggest at the minute. There we go, right. Step one, we've got it out. Yeah, there is some bad news. I broke the switch, as you can see there. Look, don't know where that went. It is all seized inside here. This is the part that's meant to spin. I've just put some WD-40 in it as well, just to try and free it off, but it's all just seized horrible. It just doesn't move, and it's no good. Luckily though, in all my junk, I managed to find a switch come out of an A3. I have had to modify it because it come in connection with another switch here, so I had to swap over the surrounds. And as you can see, like, I had to grind off some of the lip so I could get this surround on the Skoda on, which isn't ideal, but if it works and it gets us through MOT, then that's fine. And hopefully it works. I don't think it works. No, it doesn't. Oh, for some reason it's different. So I've just broke the one out the A3 for no reason. Well, that screws us for the MOT. I don't know why, but this switch is different. I'll plug it in and it just puts the headlights on all the time by default, which means now we're not going to be able to go to MOT, which was in the morning. So on my very organised workbench, I may have had a breakthrough, I don't know yet. I've managed to strip them both down, and I'm going to try and swap over the motherboards, because that is where my error is. So this is the one that I need to swap. This is the one out of the Skoda, that's the one out of the A3. So I've got my undamaged switch. I'm now just going to try and fit the motherboard to it, like so, and plug it in and see if that works. Well, it's clipped in. Let's just stick a screw in. If this works, I'm claiming genius. No. Oh! It worked. Boom! Alright. That is how we roll. MOT, we're back on. Now, I can just check the fog lights. Oh, beautiful. Right, I've done pretty much all I can for tonight. I've just parked the Skoda just outside. It's now 8 o'clock Friday night. It's got MOT 8:45 Saturday morning. I'm pretty sure it's going to fail on the binding brake, but there's nothing I can really do about it. I didn't foresee that being an issue, so I haven't ordered a new caliper because I'm pretty sure it's going to need a new caliper. So I may have to wait until Monday to get a caliper to get a retest sorted on it. There may be some other things it needs as well, but I don't know. But it should all be good. But once it's all done, I'll get it back in and we'll do the fuel filter and the air filter and the pollen filter too. So I've just dropped her off to MOT, just walking back to the farm now. Pretty sure it's going to fail. Just haven't had time to do everything. Didn't order the parts in, but I'm pretty sure it's going to fail on a near side rear binding brake caliper. I've told them to put a headlight bulb in it because it's just easier to do. It's not going to cost me any more. Forgot to check the washer fluid and the spray pattern. That's something I'd normally do as well. Check the washer fluid, and normally they have on Audis, they had like 3 jets. You would align those jets, or if it's a Volkswagen, I think Skoda have the mist, so it should be fine. Might fail on a battery because I had it on charge in the workshop overnight. Still had to jump it this morning, so I might need a new battery too. Probably does. Other than that, it just drives so nice. So yeah, fingers crossed it comes back relatively low on the fail count and we can sort it quite easily, and yeah, she'll be good to go. Right, I got some good news. She actually passed MOT. I didn't expect it to, but there we go. We do have some advisories, as I thought we would. Oil leak, I told you they were going to put that down as advisory. It's not leaking. It's because it's leaked in the past and there's like oil residue on the block. I knew they were going to put it down as an advisory. Brake discs pitted, worn, but not seriously weakened. Again, yeah, they're a little bit scored, but they're going to be. They don't need replacing, so that's fine. Brake pads wearing thin near side rear, they were about 4 or 5 mil, so they got plenty of life left in those. Service brake binding near side rear, which we know about. Near side front washer weak. They were actually, the washers I did actually forget to check. It was because they were frozen. It was -1 that day, they were frozen, so they now work absolutely fine. And for some reason they put an advisory down as running lights as side lights. I don't know why they've put that an advisory. It's just pretty standard. The DRLs are the side lights, but there we go. But we have 12 months MOT, and yeah, all good. Removing the fuel filter is really easy. There's just 5 little T20 screws on the top. Remove those and carefully prise the lid off. Try not to bend anything, and then the fuel filter just comes out. Now what I'm going to do now, because the fuel filter's now only got half the amount of fuel it should have, it means that when we turn the engine over, it will briefly start and then it will cut out. So what we want to do is we want to top this back up as much as possible, just so when we run the engine, it doesn't draw through air and therefore cut out, and then we have to try and bleed the fuel system. So with the filter cap off like this, I'm going to turn the ignition on. That may inject fuel. Some do, some don't, but if it doesn't inject fuel, I'm just going to quickly crank the engine. It should inject fuel into here. We'll top it up to the max, and then when we close it down, the fuel system should be pretty much full of water, fuel, and therefore when we start it up and run, it will just sort itself out and not end up cutting out. So let's just give it a go. Right, so this does it. So if we crank it a little bit, I don't know if you'll be able to see. Right, it started, but that's not good. I needed to crank a little bit and not start. I'll have to do that. No, back off. Right. Little. That might be alright. That might be enough. So I'm not doing very well here. Just had my camera recording and just broke the tripod. Fell over, just snapped the wide-angled lens off, and now the tripod camera is broken, so I'm using my iPhone. I'm just changing the air filter. That's all I was trying to do. Quite easy, 6 or 7 bolts, T20s, just take the cover off, put the new filter on, stick it back on, and then that is going to be us done in the engine bay. Right, so I have a bit of a disaster. Ordered an under tray and for some reason it's the wrong one. It's about an inch too long, which makes no sense. So I'm probably just going to order a new one because I can't find any with the exact part number it should be. I'd just assume that would be fine because it's a 2-litre diesel under tray, but it's just an inch short, so that's annoying. The other annoying thing is the garage that fitted the tyres have still got my locking wheel key. So they're currently shut at the minute, so that's not ideal, which means we can't do the caliper and I can't bleed the bloody brakes. So annoyingly, I'm gonna have to wait for them to reopen so I can go and get the locking wheel key, so which means I'm gonna have to do the brake caliper and the brake fluid change off camera, unfortunately, but it is gonna be done for the new owner of the car. And also I'm gonna order another under tray and have another go at that. But for now then, that is the Octavia VRS done. So we're pretty much there with our list. I have just done some sums as well, and this is going back about 10 years because I remember how much, it was like a fixed price service for a cam belt, fixed price for a full service, and they were roughly, the prices are maybe 10% out here or there, but it's roughly right. Now you could probably add another 100 quid on each one of those, but I'm talking 10 years ago. Brake fluid, that was what it was. And I know we were about £115 an hour 10 years ago. Pretty sure it's at like 170 an hour nowadays. So it would have just been, yeah, like just over an hour to do the caliper, maybe more, hour to do the bump stops, half an hour to do the headlight being stiff. And that's plus parts as well. I'm not sure what parts new would have been for them, probably around about 150. So yeah, you could probably add another sort of 300 quidish for parts there. The full service did include all the parts instead of the cam belt, so you're roughly looking at about 1,200 plus another 200 in parts, so about 1,400 quid. You're looking to do everything I've just done in this video, or yet to do, like the brake fluid change. But that just gives you an idea of main dealer costs. And the last thing to do is get rid of that service light. So we can do it on here. I just did the oil reset and the period setting as well. Just done that, and there we go. All reset, beautiful. And there we go, look. No warning lights anymore, good to go. So as I said earlier on the video, guys, disclaimer, it was just my experience as a main dealer technician 10 years ago and the other technicians in the workshop of that main dealer when I was there. That is just what we used to do. Although I did say I may have forgotten some things because it has been such a long time ago, but we're pretty much there. So let me know in the comments, guys, what do you guys do? Do you go to main dealer for servicing? Does it matter on the age of the car? Do you think that a main dealer service is better than a specialist or another type garage? It would be interesting to know your thoughts. As I said, 1,500 quid would have been about 10 years ago, so you probably be more looking at £2,000 for that work now. Obviously it's gonna be less for a specialist and even less again for like your average garage as well. So do let me know in the comments, guys, what do you do and why? Is it just for the stamp, or do you think you get a better service? Me personally, I would go to a specialist. I don't see what a main dealer does any different. They do have a lot more overheads, more expensive buildings, and that is why they do charge more. So it'd be good to know your thoughts in the comments, guys. So guys, that is the Octavia VRS now done and up on Compete for Cars. Now at the beginning of this video, I said you can win this car for free, which you can. Everyone has one free ticket to enter the competition. You can buy additional tickets at 99p each if you want, but I'm only going to run the competition for 3 days. So whatever happens in 3 days, everyone gets one free ticket for the car. You can buy additional tickets if you want. It will be limited though. So go grab your tickets, guys. And yeah, you can have this great little run around. Only £20 a year road tax as well. And it does about, when I was driving it, about 58 to 60 miles to the gallon. So yeah, great car, and I'm sure it will go to someone who's going to use it more frequently than I do. It will be missed, that's for sure. And also just a quick update, I'm still actually waiting to find out from the winner of the Impreza competition if they want the car or not. The last I spoke with him is he's just trying to get an insurance quote put together, because obviously it's got some modifications on it. It's been a bit difficult for him to get an insurance quote, so that's going to be the deciding factor. He says, I'm just waiting to find out. The winner of the Cupra Leon competition did take the cash alternative, and I have actually, interestingly, pretty much swapped that car for two older iconic cars that I think I'm going to raffle instead, because I do need to keep some cars on the website going, because the website costs a hell of a lot of money a month just to do nothing. So I do, even if it's not a salvage car, a really nice hand-picked car by me on there every couple of weeks just to keep it going. Because otherwise, yeah, it can get expensive really quickly. So as always, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this kind of filler video. Maybe it was interesting and maybe not. Let me know in the comments. So the next video, sorry, is going to be on the Octavia VRS 3. And one after that will be the Lambo. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, guys.